Hey everybody, it's Rockula, and welcome back to Rockula Retrospective. This is the review of The Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 3, and it's called Four Walls and a Roof. Okay, so this is the complete review of episode 3 of season 5. It's called Four Walls and a Roof. And what I was able to do since I found a new streaming site is that it posts about 20 minutes after 9, which is my time in the Dallas time zone, to see Walking Dead. So instead of waiting till like 1 o'clock in the morning on my old streaming site, I was able to watch it right away. So I decided to do an initial reaction review, which is about 6 minutes long. So look up here and you will see the initial reaction review. Go see that if you haven't, if you want to see that first. So what we got here is Gareth on Bob, and we come up with the classic fatal behavior type that every villain uses to his own downfall, and that is monologuing. What the fuck is up with bad guys and monologuing? They always do it. They got somebody where they want them. They can neutralize them, kill them, whatever you want to do. And you start giving away all of your backstory, all of your information, and all of that stuff to a guy who's gonna get away. And it eventually comes back to bite him on the ass, but we'll get to that. He tells Bob that they've been testing Rick's group all along and that they could have joined Terminus. But I don't know anybody that would pass a test where you see people murdered in front of you and you're kept in a boxcar and held at gunpoint and all this other stuff. And there's, oh, it was just a gag. Welcome to the group. No, I don't see that ever happening. If you join Terminus after that, you got to be a real wuss. So I'm not going for that. Now here we are back at the church, and everybody starts getting a little forceful with Reverend Gabriel Stokes. So he eventually reveals that, yeah, he locked everybody out. He was a great big pussy, and he locked everybody out. But my question is, did he bring Rick's group back to the church because he felt like he owed them for rescuing him? Or did he finally realize, I need other people to survive? So I'm still not sure what's going on with Gabriel right now about that. And the other question is, could he still be somebody's little toady that's been sent there as a kind of a way to throw people off? Because think about it. If you look at the religious motif, we've got the people who kidnapped Beth used a mortuary, and now they're using a church. They could be using a church. So it could go either way. I guess we'll find out, won't we? And then we see that Bob gets returned to our group. And initially, I didn't understand why the hell Gareth would bring Bob back, because Bob has all this information on where they are, what they're doing, how many people there are, and all that other stuff. But we'll find out a little bit later why Gareth returned Bob. Rick makes the decision to do a preemptive strike. So they're headed out to the school, and we see that Gareth has painted a big A on the church, which means that's his new stock house for meat. They go off, and this is a question that I had. They had that one long scene where you had Rick's group exiting off of the scene and Bob's group, excuse me, not Bob, Gareth. I keep mistaking Gareth for Bob because Basically, Bob is part of Gareth now, if you think about it. But yeah, Gareth and company come in the other way, and there's that one static shot of the church. So I'm wondering if they were just being stylistic by leaving the church sign in the middle and then having people coming in, or was there something on that sign that we were supposed to read that was some kind of clue to something before or past? Because once again, it was a dark scene, and on my internet streaming, dark scenes don't show up so well. So they get to the church and they break in, and once again, Gareth starts monologuing. Then we come to the part where Gareth is inside and he's been monologuing for a little while, and you have the shot of Carl and company, and then you look over at this plaque and it says, "Stupidity is also a gift from God, but one mustn't use it." And I'm thinking, that's God telling Gareth, shut the fuck up and take care of business, because any second now, Rick's going to come do a double back on you and you're toast. But what happens? Rick does the double back on him, gets the drop on him, shoots a couple of people, shoots off Gareth's fingers, and then proceeds to finish him off by hand. My question is, I've heard people talk about this before. What is the significance of the red-handled machete? Who did that belong to? I'm going to do some research myself, but if you know that answer, please tell me in the comments below who was the original person that owned that red-handled machete, or what is the significance of the red-handled machete. Michonne gets the sword back, and everything's resolved. Bob gives his emotional deathbed speech to Rick, and making sure that Rick's holding the baby, so that he goes, look, you still need to maintain your humanity here, and Judith is the reason. So Bob dies, and Tyrese finally does something right. Finishes off Bob for Sasha so that Sasha doesn't do it. But I'm also starting to wonder, maybe in the new world, planting that blade in somebody's temple is another way to have closure. But yeah, he finally did something right and killed Bob mercifully for Sasha, and he does something right. Another question here, and this is more of a side note. How many times have you seen somebody where they're on their deathbed and they're about to turn, and it's a bed where everybody, it's inside a domicile? Why would you finish somebody off in a bed that you might want to use later? I mean, come on. When you stab somebody in the head, blood goes everywhere, gets all over the pillow, gets in the mattress. You just ruined a bed. So I don't understand why people kill somebody on their deathbed like that. So Glenn and Maggie and Tara made the deal with Abraham that they'd go with him if he helped them survive the night. Here's my question. Why does Abraham still need to leave right away? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Obviously, it's going to make sense to break the story up again. But, common sense says, wait until you can at least find out what happened to Daryl and Carol. Gareth and company have all been neutralized. Stick around for another half a day just to do some recon and see what happens. But no, Abraham just has to go, and he splits everybody up. Now, there's some contention that, is this going to be the story arc for the offshoot that's supposed to happen? And I'm not sure if the offshoot is going to happen in the off season from this Walking Dead, but I don't think so. I think what they're going to do is they're going to just keep splitting this story arc, so you'll have two separate universes for a little while, and eventually they're going to get back together, albeit who knows who's going to be left. But that's where I see this story arc going, is it's not going to be the spin-off. I think it's staying within this original concept, and the spin-off is going to be somebody else. You got Rick and Tyrese digging graves like they were digging graves at the prison, and I don't know. It just seems like Tyrese, you can't tell. It seems like whenever he needs to deliver, sometimes he does. Sure as fuck didn't deliver inside of the church. So I really don't think that Tyrese needs to stick around, because just a babysitter isn't good enough. We've got the last scene of this episode where Gabriel and Michonne are sitting on the front porch. Michonne, here's a continuity point right here that I just want to point out. I don't know if they just forgot to put it in, but Michonne's sitting there looking at her sword. When she gets up and she starts going out to see what that noise is, she pulls the sword out of the scabbard. When did she put that sword back? I have no idea. But you got Gabriel and Michonne talking. She hears the twig break, and she goes off into the dark, and we see Daryl come out of the darkness. Michonne asks where Carol is, and Daryl doesn't answer her, but turns around and says, "Come out now." And that's the end of the episode. I think that Carol split. I don't think Carol's with him. Now it's toss up whether or not Beth is the person hiding in the darkness, and I'm going to come to that when it comes to the sneak peeks. But it's toss up either way, but I predict that Carol dropped off Daryl and whomever else is in the darkness, and she took off in the car. Now we come to the end of the show and the previews for the next episode 4. And it shows Beth in a hospital, and the voiceover by Daryl says, "I was with her for a while." And knowing the way that these people that make this show misdirect you, I don't know if that's him explaining what's happening in episode 4, or if that's him talking about back in season 4. I don't know if that's audio from Daryl telling everybody, filling in everybody on the Beth situation back in season 4. You never know, because they're always trying to throw us off. And I'm telling you, that's not the car that kidnapped Beth. I keep harping on it, but that's not the car that kidnapped Beth. So I guess we're going to see what happens. All right. So this is the end of the episode, but this is not the end of my reviews for this episode. If you watch me regularly, you know that what I do is I go back, I research all the questions and points that I brought up, and I also watch all the reviewers. I got a couple of new reviewers that I saw that I liked, and I'll tell you about them in a couple of days when I post the next episode of Rockula Retrospective, and that will be the episode 3, season 5 re-review. I'm Rockula, and this is Rockula Retrospective.